Hello and welcome to this writing skill video. In this video we'll be looking at commas again, but this time in relationship to compound sentences. So essentially we'll be talking about how to connect two independent clauses correctly with a conjunction, okay, or a semicolon, as the case may be, okay? So what is a compound sentence, first of all? A compound sentence is essentially two complete sentences that are joined together with a comma in a conjunction or a semicolon. So two complete sentences that could stand alone are now joined together, okay? So to do that properly, you need a comma and a conjunction, or in rare cases, a semicolon. So it always has two subjects and two verbs at least. You could have three or even four. You're getting a little unwieldy at that point. But usually these come in pairs where it's two sentences with two separate subjects and two separate verbs. Okay? So two separate subject-verb relationships. Okay? Now, you need to be able to distinguish it from sentences that are simply complex sentences, not true compound sentences. So we're also going to look at when not to use it, because people hear this rule and then they misapply it very commonly to complex sentences instead of to actual compound sentences. Okay, so let's take a look first at compound sentences. She went to the store, comma, and she bought some milk. So notice both of those sentences could stand alone. She went to the store. That makes sense and it's complete. And the other one too, she bought some milk. That can stand alone. But since they're short sentences and they're related in their content, it makes a lot of sense to add them together. So you do that with the comma and the conjunction. And, okay? You can use other conjunctions, by the way, like but, so, that sort of thing. So anything that will combine the two sentences, you use that kind of conjunction and the comma. Okay, so Nixon was not removed from office, semicolon, he resigned. So this is an example of a semicolon that might be acceptable, but it's the same situation. You have a complete sentence on both sides. Nixon was not removed from office. Okay, so that can stand alone. He resigned can also stand alone. It's short, but it has a subject-verb relationship. It is a complete sentence. You can have a complete sentence that's just two words. So yet that is a complete sentence. And it makes a lot of sense to connect it with a semicolon in that case because they are so closely related that having one flow off of the other that way works really well. But you want to use those very sparingly. You don't want to always use that. The comma and the conjunction is much more common and usually works better stylistically. Okay? Here's another example. In 1984, Los Angeles hosted the Olympics, comma, and some of the decorations can still be seen today. So both of those sentences can stand alone, right? In 1984, Los Angeles hosted the Olympics. Complete sentence, right? And also, some of the decorations can still be seen today. That can stand alone, right? So you have two complete independent clauses, two complete sentences that are joined with a comma and a conjunction. Okay? So that would be appropriate to use a comma there. And here's another example. This is an example of when you might have actually more than two, three, four, who knows, possibly even more, complete clauses, independent clauses that are joined together. So in that case, we have Jane went to see Transformers, comma, Jack went horseback riding, comma, and I stayed home. All of those are independent clauses that can stand alone, okay? But they have all been joined together. And notice how you use the commas. It's a lot like the series comma, works the same way. Now here's the problem. Don't use a comma if two verbs share the same subject. So for example, historian Howard Zinn contends that income inequality is growing and may lead to serious social unrest. So you wouldn't want to put a comma there between growing and because may lead and is growing share the same subject, inequality. Okay, here's another example. Whenever I go to the movies, I buy popcorn and sit in the very back row. Buy and sit are the verbs, and it's sharing one subject, I. Okay, it would be very different if it said I buy popcorn and I sit in the very back row. In that case, you would need the comma. But in this case, we're sharing the same subject. 2 verbs, 1 subject. Okay, here's another example. The vaccine was purchased from the medical supply company and distributed to all essential workers. So notice they're spread apart in the sentence, but still it's 1 subject, 2 verbs, right? So in that case, you need no comma in between. Here's another example. Now, in this case, you have the comma before the conjunction, but for a different reason. In this case, it is a series of 3 or more. Okay, it's 3 in this case. So he got out of bed, comma, turned on the light, comma, and found that the window was broken. So it's all sharing 1 subject, but because you have 3, you do need the comma. Okay, but that's for a different reason, not because it's a compound sentence, but because it's a series. Okay? Okay, so I hope that helped clarify a few things for you using that comma in a compound sentence, and also when not to use it. If you'd like to review this information and get a little bit more detail about it, you can go to the Rough Rider's Guide to section 9, chapter 43. There's all sorts of information about using commas properly. Also, you can sit down with a tutor in the Yavapai College Learning Center, and they'd be happy to work on that with you. Just direct them that that is what you'd like to work on. And you can also contact your instructor either by email, or you can stop by their office hours and perhaps go through your own writing and see if you're using your commas correctly. Okay? So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next writing skill video. Bye-bye.